So, bookkeeping, is it important? Do you need to do it? And what are the essential parts of a successful business? That is what we are going to be talking about today. Check out this video. You talked about the fact that a business owner will see what's going on in their business. I think that some of the advantages of someone doing bookkeeping themselves, especially when they're starting out in business, is to start doing their own bookkeeping, because they can see on a daily basis, things are coming through the bank fees. They should be able to see exactly what you've said about the income and expenditures of their business and looking at their cash flow and keeping on top of that. Those are a bunch of advantages why someone who is starting out in business might do it themselves, because they're keeping down the cost. But for me, I think there's plenty of downsides of doing bookkeeping themselves. What's your thoughts on are there any downsides, any negatives of why people shouldn't do their own bookkeeping?
I think that, as you say, there are lots of reasons why, especially new businesses, are sort of keen to do their own bookkeeping. But I think in our experience, business owners, business managers aren't bookkeepers. They have their own sort of skill sets, their own reasons for going into businesses, and their own strengths, essentially. And sometimes bookkeeping just isn't that. So with the best of intentions, lots of business owners jump in and they start doing their own bookkeeping, Excel spreadsheets and Sage booksheets and all sorts of bits and pieces, recording income and outgoings and various bits and pieces. But it's not always kept in the best of order. So by the time it goes to the accountant, there are lots of gaps, lots of unreconciled information, confused bits and pieces, information in there that may be perceived as a personal expense rather than a business expense, lots and lots of anomalies that may go on. So the quality of the bookkeeping that person's doing may not be high enough for the accountants to create, decent sets of records for them. So, it's time consuming, but it can be doubly time consuming if they have to go back and they have to answer all the accountants' questions, or if they have to redo various bits and pieces, if they have to re-reconcile bank accounts or PayPal accounts or credit card expenses, debit card expenses. And to be honest with you, Simon, these are all things that our team of experts have lots and lots of experience in doing. So we've worked with companies of all different sizes for 10, 12 years now. We've experienced most of the anomalies that will occur. And we like to spend a bit of time right at the very beginning of our relationship with a customer, trying to learn as much as we can about their business, about their suppliers, and about the customers, about the sort of number of transactions and type of transactions that they're undertaking on a monthly basis, so that we can get everything set up well right at the very beginning, so that we can choose the best systems, the best processes to ensure that these things run smoothly. And to be fair, we report back to the customers to ensure that, if they're not doing their own bookkeeping on a daily basis, you make a they're not getting a crystal sort of view of the way that their business is performing. But doing that work on their behalf, and we're reporting back to them to let them know, or to question any expenses that are going out, anything that we spot or our guys are spotting that's not crystal clear, and it's not perhaps seen as being an essential expense, or at least it's risen as a question, so that the customer's still getting that overview of the way that their business is performing. But at the end of the day, it gives them back the time to spend on their own business and to really make the most of their own strengths. So it's really about doing what you're an expert in. We're expert bookkeepers, and our customers are experts in running their own business, and it makes sense really for everyone to do what they're good at.
It's interesting. There's a couple of points that I wanted to emphasize what you've said and to explore that, because you mentioned about people thinking, well, if I'm paying for Initor Global to do my bookkeeping services, and I'm not saying what the rates are, but let's imagine that it's £30 an hour on average. And I don't know what the rates are. Okay, but if we talked about it's £30 an hour, 10 hours, £300. And for anyone that's starting out in business, I get it. £300 is a lot of money when you are starting out in business. But what I would ask you to do as a business owner is to think about, well, how much money would you earn in your business if you weren't doing the bookkeeping? So whereby if someone like Initor Global, I've never done bookkeeping properly myself. I've got to be honest with you. I'm not very good at it. And I'm an accountant. I'm trained and I still don't do it very well. But if I was to look at it, I've just said it takes 10 hours for Intor Global to do it, maybe £300. But if I was doing it, or another business owner is entrepreneurial who aren't good at doing crossing the T's, dotting the I's, I'm definitely not that type of person. I'm very much kind of speaking in theory and talking things through. But if I was to look at it and say, well, actually, I'll spend 15 hours instead of 10 because I'm correcting my mistakes, or I'm going slower, I'm watching YouTube videos of how to do things on bookkeeping, which I'm not an expert on. Then actually the cost, even if I worked on the same basis, would be £450. But actually, if I'm a business owner, I might be charging £50 an hour. So now all of a sudden it's £600 for me to do my own bookkeeping versus £300 to let an expert do it. Which one do I prefer? Well, doing my business, surely.
I think one of the other interesting things with that as well, and I agree with what you just said, is but one of the extra things, the additional things I think that we bring to the table is the fact that if we are allocating everything in the right places, we're also dealing with the tax implications of everything. So, in terms of all of your expenses, we're making sure that we are claiming tax back where we can, that we're handling the tax well. So I think that, depending on the size of your business and the amount of turnover and the number of transactions that you have every month, but if you are looking at everything in the detail that we look at it at, we potentially can also save you, tax payments as well. If for any reason, HMRC would like to take a look at your books, or that there's an investigation, you can rest assured that we've got everything in place. Everything's in the right sort of sections, and it's easy and efficient for HMRC to jump in and have a look at it. So there are the kind of obvious advantages, but there are also the underlying advantages in that I think there is a cost for our business, and we have looked at that as well. So we tend to work on a kind of a number of transactions rather than charging an hourly rate for the work that we do. We base it on a number of transactions per month, and then we can work out, an affordable rate for customers. So, there's that to sort of bear in mind as well. But so I think there's also the potential tax savings. Whereas if a manager's doing it or if an owner's doing it, they may not know that there's specialist tax treatment for a certain expense and overlook it or not include it. We will recognise that. We'll make sure that we get that back for you. And as I say, the other thing is if heaven forbid there are any investigations from HMRC or anyone else, we can ensure that everything is handled professionally. It's all collated in the correct way, and it's all managed in a well done order.